Never know what's going to happen. Never. I do the same thing every time, the same steps, the same thing, and it kept telling me that it couldn't connect. And when it finally did, it connected with no audio. So I'm so sorry for that. I hope we don't miss out on people joining with us. I'm so glad that that you stuck with me and you're looking for the right stream to watch. I really apologize. Sometimes technology, no matter what we do, it just doesn't work. And this was one of those times. It's been a really busy day, so we'll just wait a minute, see if we can't get everybody to join on. In the meantime, we just have a few of us. If you could post in the chat section where you're from, that would be great. If you're new, if this is your first chat, please post that as well. We'd love to find out where you're from and how you heard about us, where this came from. We have a live chat usually every week. We have a daytime chat like this one, and then we have our night owl quilting on the opposite week, which is at 10 p.m. Central Time, where we work on a little project and we just kind of sit and chat together. So this is our little ad for the night owl quilting. My granddaughter made this for me when she was little tiny. She's big and all grown now, but she made that, and I thought, oh, that's such a good little mascot. That would be just perfect for our night owl quilting. So anyway, still waiting. I'm sure. Yeah, we had more. Again, please. Oh, thank you for posting. Yes, it's hard for me to see when I look the chat. It's like minuscule, tiny, and I've got my camera set far back so you can see what's behind me, and it makes for a little bit of a confused space. I am so sorry for all this terrible confusion. I'm not kidding. I probably tried 7 times and it kept telling me that it couldn't connect. So I don't know if it's a YouTube issue. I'm using the same computer I always do. Same steps I always follow. But again, it's live, and that's what happens with live. So welcome, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Mary from Joyful and Mary Quilting. I am here to just share my love of quilting with everyone. And today's topic, we're going to talk about foundation piecing, just because that is a hot topic anymore. There are a lot of people that talk about foundation piecing, and we have a lot of people who either like it or hate it. There's some people that are maybe a little indifferent about it, but for the most part, we have the big supporters of foundation piecing, and then we have the people that say, I will never. And so I'm going to kind of address that, because there are some blocks when it comes to foundation piecing that I will never. But there are other blocks that I think that they lend themselves to that particular technique. And I'm going to show you why I like it and what I think about it. So before we get started, I just want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, our Night Owl Quilting by Little Lucy. Again, it will be on September 11th. It will be at 10 p.m. Central Time. Last time we had 11, it was a little late for the Eastern folks. So we're going to do it at 10 p.m. Central Time. And you can either work on the project that I'm going to be working on. You can work on your own project. You can just sit and listen, or you can participate in the chat, whatever you want to do. Last time we had about 150 people join us, which was amazing. And we made our little candle cozy. I don't think I have it here anymore, but anyway, that's what we did. We worked on that. And I do have it here. We made this little Halloween candle cozy, which was really fun. This is a battery operated candle, and it's just the little holder that goes around it. You can put a votive in there. You can put whatever you want. I chose the little bit larger, the 3-inch size. We also talked about how you can make it for Valentine's Day and maybe put a glass in there with a base on it and just use it as a coaster. Or you can make it for Christmas. You can put an ornament in here, and you can, it has a little hidden surprise inside. All of them do. So that's the candle cozy. That's what we made last week. The whole point of making these little projects right now is that we are all, now that quilting season has started September 1st, we are all looking for just different little favors, quilting favors, things that we can give to a bunko group or a quilt guild or an appreciation breakfast or which is what we have, just a little gift. And so I've come up with several gifts that we're going to put together in a favor package. And then you can have all of them to use. Now the patterns are free until we have our live. So once I teach you how to do this in the live, then the patterns go into our store. And then we have another pattern that we will introduce for the next week. And I will give you that link to the PDF. Now, the PDF link will be available before Monday night, but probably not until the weekend. And we are going to be making this really cute hexagon pot holder. It's so easy to make. It goes together, but it's big. It's 9 inches. Now, I've seen some of these made like little coasters. This is huge. It's quilted. It's thick enough to go under, when you're using it as a hot pad. But I really like it. It makes such a cute gift. So if you're participating in this, you'll need 7 10-inch squares. So go through your fabric if you're planning on making this with me. Find 10 squares that you think will match. That includes the back. And the PDF will give you all the cutting instructions so that when you come online and hopefully everything works right and you join me, then we'll be able to make that together. Okay, now talking about our foundation piecing. That's kind of what we're into today. I have 2 videos that are already on the Joyful and Merry Quilting page. One of them is just straight up foundation piecing. It shows you how to do it with a simple block. Actually, I think I've got the block here. It's this block. This is what we made, just a very simple square and a square. And I use the foundation piecing. Now, some people will say you don't need to foundation piece this. You could just make this with the triangles and the square, and you can. And especially if you have a block lock ruler, super easy to do. But I wanted something simple to explain to you how to do the actual process of foundation piecing. So I did it with the foundation piecing video as well as with the freezer paper piecing video. We also made this and I showed you how to do that just so you get the idea of what it's all about. And then, you can investigate it. I'm going to give you some of the tips today just to maybe encourage you and tell you when it really doesn't work. There are occasions when foundation piecing just really doesn't work. It's not necessary. The whole purpose of foundation piecing is to give us those crisp points, the nice edges. It makes everything accurate. We don't have one strip a little bigger than the other one, or one triangle just a little crooked. Foundation piecing keeps that from happening. So that's kind of the reason that we do it, is to get that perfect block. And it's not really hard to do. It's pretty easy to put together. So if you're going to make like a 4-patch block, 1, 2, 3, 4, or a 9-patch, you wouldn't foundation piece that. All you would do there is you would cut your squares so accurate 1/4-inch seams, put them together, and you're done. There would be no reason to foundation piece. But if you're doing something a little more intricate, like let's say you're doing a log cabin block. This is just a little patriotic log cabin block. Um, Actually, look, I noticed this just now. This is the wrong color. This should be white on here. I didn't even notice it. So good thing I didn't use this one. But anyway, this is a log cabin. You can see that it's pretty much got um, uh, very even squares, and it's because I pieced it. The lights are too bright. We can't really see the pictures, but um, maybe like that. When I get it out of the light, you can see. Anyway, when we look at there, that's better. Yeah, those are still. Yeah, that's better. It's okay if they're up higher, but they're focusing right here on the thing, and it's too hard to see. So anyway, that's the basic foundation pattern, and we turn it into that, and it's very cute. So this is the pattern that I used for this. Again, well, we can't see. I guess this isn't probably a good idea to do it this way. Um, uh, you can't see it, but this particular pattern, we have lights and darks that are showing. When I go closer, you can't see it at all. Okay, like that maybe. I'm doing that. So if we see, we've got the red squares here and the light here, and that kind of gives us a clue as to what colors to use on there. It's just a little bit of a help. Some foundation patterns do that. Some don't do that. And when they don't, we need to make sure that we add that in. So here's another tip that I always use when I'm making my foundation pattern is, let's say we're doing a square and a square. The first thing that I do is I write on the square the color of fabric that I'm gonna use, so that when I cut this out and then piece the block, I there's no doubt what fabric's supposed to be under there. Now, of course, this I should have that should have worked with this, and it didn't, so I guess I was tired because I put the red one down where the white one is, but it's obviously white on the square. I needed to pay closer attention. So, hopefully, if we're looking at it, there we go. We've got all those marked so that when we cut out our square and piece it, we come up with a really cute square in a square. And I've had all those came out right. All the squares are correct on here. Here we've got the block in the center, the square that can be anything. Just a really fun and easy pattern. Foundation pieced. Now, if I'm going to foundation piece this, we have another technique that's called um, freezer paper piecing. And that's where you use a piece of freezer paper. I buy them in the sheet, and they look like this. And you get they fit in your printer this way. The video, I'm not going to go into it here, but the video talks you through all the mistakes that I made when I did this for the first time, trying to send it through a laser printer. We have a little bit of a glossy side. That's the wax side. And then we have this side, which is the side that we print on. When you're sending it through the printer, you need to make sure that you have your printer protected. So if you watch that video, it'll tell you how to do that. It's a great technique for something like this, something very simple, because you don't ever rip your paper off. You don't cut anything. Basically, you don't sew on the paper, but rather you sew right next to the paper. So if I was sewing on this particular piece, I would not sew on the line like you usually do, but rather you fold it back on the line and you sew right next to it. So that's the whole point. Freezer paper sticks your fabric to the paper and it enables you to have everything pretty well set as you're folding and cutting and adding. Watch the video, it'll make a lot more sense to you than me showing it to you here. But the issue that we have with freezer paper piecing is everybody says you can use the papers over and over and over and over again. Well, you can, but not really. You can maybe use them 3 times. If you have a lot of pieces, the freezer paper picks up lint and then it doesn't stick anymore. So depending on your fabric and how linty your fabric is and how many times you're using it, that's how many times you can use that freezer paper. Now, again, the pros of using it, you don't have to rip all those pieces off. The cons of using it is that sometimes when we're sewing next to the line, we're not quite as accurate as if we sew on the line. So that's a little bit of an issue that we want to address as well. So the freezer paper, again, the video, and I'm not going to really talk a whole lot about that here. It's not what you would call complicated. It works well, but I feel like it has a lot of steps that I'm just not willing to take. I have to, as I'm doing this, the folding, the marking, the putting it in my printer and all that. For me, it's just a little cumbersome. I find it just as easy to print on plain old paper. Now, there are free foundation paper that's sold out there. It's a little thinner. Sometimes it pulls apart a little bit easier. You don't really need that. You don't need that if you have these tools that I have. So what I have here, there's 2 tools. One of them's not here. Oh, I'm telling you, you guys, my perforating blade. I'm so sorry. I was gone all morning and I just kind of ran in and set up here and I thought I had everything ready to go and obviously I don't. But there are 2 tools that I show you in the video, in the other video about paper piecing. One of them is a perforating blade and the other one is this right here. This is the perforating blade is this. Okay, can you see that? It's got a little tiny perforation holes are cut out of the blade all the way around. This is not a skip stitch blade that we know of if you make fleece blankets. Now, it's listed on Amazon as a skip stitch blade, but it's not. It is also listed as a perforating blade. You get like 5 of them for $8 or something like that. A lot. You don't need that many. This lasts forever, but you can share with your friends. What this does is when you are folding, usually what we do is we fold our paper on the lines when we are foundation piecing. Those of you who foundation piece, you know that. It is a little difficult for me to show here just because of what we're doing, but we place our ruler right along the line and then we fold the paper so that we can create basically a fold that will allow us to sew along and place our triangles, cut that um, the quarter inch seam allowance. Again, if you're not foundation piecers yet, watch the video and then you'll understand what we're talking about. But what I'm telling you here is that the fold is okay. And we do that all the time. But rather than fold, if we place our ruler on each one of these lines and either use our perforating blade or this little tracing wheel, from sewing. This doesn't make holes in the paper. It just kind of makes dents in it. This one actually makes holes in the paper. When we do that, oh my goodness, the paper folds. We don't have any trouble ripping it off. It just goes together in a snap. I think that's worth it to make paper piecing or foundation piecing a little bit easier. So this tool, I just bought this on Amazon, or this is a Dritz, I think, or Clover, I'm not sure. They're $5 or $6. They have real cheap ones for like $2, but I was a little worried because their blades were kind of wobbly. I was a little worried that they might break. So these tools to me make a huge difference when I'm foundation piecing. I use them all the time. When do I use this one? And when do I use this one? Okay, I'll show you. The perforating blade works really well with a larger print, something like this or something like this, because it does make holes in your paper. Your needle does that too, but not very well. It does it when it's sewing, it perforates your paper, but it doesn't make enough that it makes it easy to rip off. When you do one swipe of this, don't go back and forth because you'll cut your piece off. These are blades. When you do one swipe, that paper comes off so easy. So I just love this tool. But I did find that when I do a small block, such as this one, isn't that the coolest block? When I do a small block like this, it's too much. The perforating blade just makes too many slices in my foundation. You can see how many I need on there, and it starts to come apart before I'm finished sewing. But this works really well. So if you take this and your ruler and you mark a dent, that's kind of what this is a perforating dent, all over on every line here. And then you use this to fold back and cut that seam allowance and then to remove your paper. This is a lifesaver. This would take me forever to get this block done the traditional way. I would never template piece a block like this. I just wouldn't do it because these pieces individually added to this block would never come out as perfect and as straight as this. Never, ever, ever. Unless you are an expert quilter, which some people are, and yay, but I'm not. And I need to find something that's going to give me an accurate block. Look at that. I mean, holding it up there, those points are perfect everywhere. And it's because, first of all, because I've foundation pieced. And second of all, because I perforated those lines. So think about that now. Maybe you'd like to try something a little bit more complicated when it comes to making a quilt block because you know how to foundation piece. So this is really exciting and really important that I feel like I use either one of these tools. Again, you can fold your paper and cut, but every fold, when you are talking about these little teeny spots right here, it is really hard to get your ruler right on that line and make sure that they are all even. The perforating blade or the tracing wheel does that for you. Now, on Amazon, they have these perforating blades for sure. But there's another one that I bought, and it was called an Olfa perforating blade, and it was the little tiny one, not the 45 millimeter. It was a little tiny one. And so I ordered it to see if it was any good because it was basically kind of the size of this. Still does the same job as this one does, as the large one does. It still has that same perforation on there. But when I got it, it was a knockoff. So it said Olfa on it. It was not the Olfa logo. It didn't look the same. All the packaging was written in Japanese. It came from Amazon. So I don't know where it came from. It did work. It was a little cheaper than buying all the blades. It was just 3 or $4, I think. I don't remember. But it was really hard to find. It was kind of hidden on their website, and I had no idea when I ordered it what I was getting. So that's another option. You can use that as well if you want to. But once again, even the smaller one, I would not use for a pattern like this just because it cuts the paper. And eventually you've got all the pieces are coming off on the back before you are finished piecing your block. And if that happens, these are going to go, and those are your last ones to put on. So anyway, that's my suggestion for that. Foundation piecing also works really well when we have something like this that's just strips. And look at how nice and even those strips are. I mean, they just come out really well. I was able to, press them as you go along. It works well. I like the technique. I like to be able to use it. The reason I like it on this one is, as you can see, we got some bias edges going on here when we place our strips on the block. And as you're sewing, your block can get really distorted. So here's another pro of foundation piecing. If we have something where those bias edges might cause a problem, the foundation paper holds it in place until we are ready to remove it. We will cut it to size and then remove the paper. We have a perfect block. So we don't have to worry about it getting bigger and bigger and bigger and a little more wonky as we would if we just took and pieced these strips. Actually, using this paper holds it all in place. So another pro of using the foundation paper. Now, blocks easily can come when we're doing this, I'm going to just a couple things that we have to be careful of. When we are foundation piecing, it really, really works best if you press all of your fabrics with a pressing solution. That works well with piecing, just regular piecing, but with foundation piecing especially. I use the Magic Premium Quilting and Crafting Spray. I also use Mary Ellen's Best Press. I don't see a difference in either one. I think they both work. You just don't want something that's going to flake on your fabric. Some of the homemade remedies either can flake, they can spoil, or when you use them, you can. They don't always. They might be either a little too stiff or not stiff enough, just kind of depending on what you want. There's not a whole lot of control when you buy one of these. It's the same every time. So I hesitate to use those. People have asked me about that or whether or not I use it. They make it with vodka and I forget whatever else. But anyway, it's a homemade remedy. They use cheap vodka. They say it works really well, but I read that it spoils. So you have to keep it in the refrigerator, and I'm not going to run up to the refrigerator and grab my pressing spray every time I need to use it. So that's not really an option for me. The other is not that expensive. You can buy it in the gallon jug, put it in your spray bottle, and I think it works really well. So the different types of piecing, the foundation piecing, the freezer paper piecing, and then there's template piecing. And some are just total template piecers. And I used to be. I mean, before I knew about foundation piecing, template piecing means that each one of the pieces on our square, each one of these is outlined with a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the pattern. So when we template piece, we've got that 1/4 inch seam allowance around there, and then we sew it together. It's as accurate as your cutting as your template piecing is. That's how accurate it's going to be. There's no assurance. Sometimes I will piece 30 blocks and 29 of them are beautiful and one of them is terrible, and who knows why. I found that when I piece with the foundation piecing, that doesn't happen. They work and they come out really well. So that's kind of one of the things that really convinced me that foundation piecing was good. Plus, as I said, I can do these fun blocks. I can do blocks that I wouldn't normally do, and a beginner can do that as well. So we're going to have a class on this. Actually, we're coming up with 2 different courses. We're going to have one course that is for total beginners. starting from scratch and learning from what you need to buy first, not to overbuy, what rulers you need, type of machine, all that kind of stuff, fabrics. And then we'll have another one where we're going to do like foundation piecing for one. We're going to do different types of techniques that we're going to use, how to make different blocks, half square triangles, quarter square triangles, hourglass blocks, that sort of thing. And we'll just kind of take you through that process. So it'll be more of an beginning to intermediate, but we'll get into detail with that. And that's going to be a fun course. I think then we'll take you step by step through the process. It's hard to show here on the live because I can't show you my table, and as much as I can put things up on my little design board here, it's not the same as being able to look down and watching me do it. So that's why we'll do that. But I wanted you to first give it a chance. Give foundation piecing a chance. Now, you wonder probably why I have these blocks up here, because that's paper piecing. This is foundation piecing. This is not paper piecing. You'll hear people call it foundation paper piecing, or just paper piecing. And we all know what that is, what they're talking about. But this is English paper piecing. And this is where you take the little tiny pieces of paper, the little cardstock, and you fold fabric over it, and then you sew them together and you make beautiful little pictures, little flowers and things. So I love doing this. This particular pattern is called Insanity. And it really is. Only insane people do stuff like this, like me. But I like it. What you do is you just start with a square and then you baste the square. Now, sometimes people use glue. I learned this before the glue thing came about. But I basted mine on there, and then you hook them together just by hand sewing. It's all hand sewing and it's really relaxing, fun to do. I found a product that I'm going to do a product review on that has actually it's paper that's stiff like this, but you don't ever have to remove it. When you are finished piecing, you can it dissolves. So I don't know if it's any good or not, but I'm going to try it. I think it sounds very intriguing. And if that would be the case, I cut these little tiny hexagons on my AccuCut. I do have a die for that. You can also buy them. You buy them in tons, lots and lots. But that way I can try it with that paper, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'll let you know if it works. Another thing that you want to be careful of when you are freezer paper piecing. Now that is paper piecing, freezer paper, is that you don't overpress. When we overpress, that again, you lose the sticky. You lose that adhesiveness that you have because the more you use it, the more it goes away. So you just want to press it enough to stick the fabric to the paper and then move on. One of the issues that you can always be careful. I like to use a small iron just because it really your big iron can kind of get in places you don't want it to and fuse things down that maybe you're not ready for that to happen yet. So it won't hurt it, but it does take life out of your paper when that happens, when you have to keep pulling it up and putting it back down again. So I use a small iron, but that is something that I think is really, really helpful. The template piecing or just piecing things, when it's square and you just, put them together, you don't need foundation piecing for that. There's no reason to foundation piece. There's no reason to freezer paper piece. It's not essential because it is more important that we get those blocks accurate and that, whether we're sewing blocks together or some of them that we are using templates, it actually is a little more accurate. So that's the experience that we share with each other is whichever one works better, whichever one goes. So anyway, I'm sorry I'm so discombobulated today. It just seems like today was one of those days. I had actually a pretty good morning. I work as a docent over at the Illinois Governor's Mansion, and we had a big event this morning. So I was over there guiding tours and things, and then I cut it really close getting home. It kind of lasted a little bit longer than I had expected. Thought I had everything all ready to go here, but didn't realize the internet was going to mess me up. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. This was supposed to be a little more organized than what it is, and I appreciate your patience on this and watching. We do have again, we'll have a better time Monday evening. You can watch this if you know of anybody that hasn't seen it and they want to watch this about foundation piecing, they can tune into this later. It'll be available on our YouTube live channel just under streaming, under live. And then the Monday night session will also be there. If you haven't signed up on our website so you get notified, go to joyfulandmerryquilting.com. We have a free workshop. You just click on that and enter your email address, and that way you'll be receiving a notice when we have the live and when it comes up, and then you won't miss out. So that's my that's my presentation for today. And again, I'm so sorry. I don't know what the deal was or what happened, but again, it's live and this sort of thing happens. But if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them if I can. Let's see. Thank you, Pat. You're too kind. She said, "Thank you for another good live session," and I hope I appreciate that. This has been like I say, uh, technology always frustrates me and kind of steals my joy a little bit. So I'm trying. I don't want that to happen. I really do enjoy quilting. I enjoy foundation piecing a lot, and I especially love this little guy. That's a new bee fabric. It's a gnome and bee fabric that came out that I bought the fat quarter stack, and I made that with it, and I just thought that would make such a cute quilt, and it's just, took no time at all, and I think it's like 20 or 21 pieces in there, so and all I used was the center square, and then I used 1.5 or 2-inch strips that I went around and cut in little pieces, so there wasn't a lot of waste. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. There is a way when you get your foundation pattern, usually they look like this. Okay. So they are uh, numbered. Sometimes they'll have color on them, sometimes not, but they usually look pretty much like this. They don't give you any instructions on what size pieces to cut or how to approach it because everyone has their own way of doing it, just like I have my own way of doing it. So when you approach something like this, that's part of our foundation piecing workshop will be how we figure out what size pieces to cut for a pattern like this and not waste a ton of fabric. I have seen people that just they put big huge pieces, they don't pay attention to bias edges, they just stick them on and sew them and chop everything off, and the fabric waste for me is way too much. Not that I don't waste fabric, I do waste a little bit on this, but I try and keep it as concise as I can so that there's just a little bit on each side that's causing an issue. You kinda sorta can. Now, the question was, can you turn any pattern into a paper pieced pattern? Not everything is gonna go together in one section. Some this like when this one is all of the pieces are in one section, so I just add, and I finally end up with this. But there may be, a pattern that for example, a house pattern where you have obviously 2 sections. You can turn that into a foundation pattern, with those 2 sections, and then you'll sew the 2 sections together. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense as I'm telling you, and I don't have a good example for that. But, if the pieces will not go together one at a time, if it looks like maybe you'll have a half a piece or something, I wish I had a good example to show you, but, um, there are occasions when the foundation pattern will be printed in more than one section. If you're taking a pattern and turning it into a foundation pattern, you will have to do that. So you've got to have a little knowledge of foundation piecing so that you can see where those break off points are. They may be, wherever there's long straight lines and you can't add any more to it. Um, that will be I'm not explaining it very well, but that will be another live to just talk about that and explain how that works because it is possible to and I do that all the time. I'm always turning things into it, but I can also look at it and say, no, that's not going to work. The pieces just won't go together unless you split them up and cut them in different things. And most times, by the time you do that, it's just easier to template piece it. I ordered it. I think I got it from Fat Quarter Shop. Huh? The gnome fabric. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting that when I hear the voice coming that I'm supposed to answer with the question. The gnome fabric, Fat Quarter Shop had it. It's not. It isn't that old. I might. Oh, I've already put it away. I can put the link. Let you know what it is in the comment section. It's so cute, and the Fat Quarter stack really gave me quite a few pieces in there. A lot of variety. But anyway. There's, freezer paper piecing is paper piecing, and, then we and then we have foundation okay, the freezer paper piecing and look at the video that's on our page. It's using freezer paper, glossy side. You have to buy it special, and you print your pattern on this, and then you can watch the video. It'll show you how to add the pieces using this without ripping or tearing or sewing onto your paper. That's freezer paper, so that you can reuse this piece. If this was freezer paper, I would take it off the back of my block and use it again because it would still have some glossy on it, and I never sew on this paper. I only sew next to the line. So I can't explain it here without you watching the video, but that's freezer paper. Regular foundation piecing is this one here that I showed you where we sew on the lines. Our fabric goes on the unmarked side. Our uh, we sew on the marked side. We sew right on the lines, and then we rip the paper off. That's where we use the tool to mark those lines to make it easier to remove the paper. And we don't have to use our ruler to fold it. It just folds nicely. You have to watch the video. It's amazing. I am so, it's just one of our other YouTube videos. Just look for it and it'll show you how to do it. That's that. And then English paper piecing is using the little tiny pieces um, of people use note cards. They use all kinds of stuff that you can either trace these out or print them off. And you use these little papers, fold your fabric around it, and it's all hand sewing. These are all hand sewn together. You just fold them together and whip stitch it. So we're not talking about that, but that when people refer to paper piecing, that's what paper piecing is. It's the name's kind of gotten hijacked a little bit because we call foundation piecing paper piecing, and it's not really. It's foundation paper or freezer paper piecing, but this is not. This is just English paper piecing. It's real English paper piecing is so much fun, and like I say, it's so relaxing. This would be a really fun night owl quilting night, to just do this. These come in, uh, like hundreds and hundreds of these little papers that you can order to do that, and they come in different sizes. Some of them are oblong, and of course, you can make, the grandmother's flower garden, or you can make something smaller. I don't Yeah. Yeah, this is my small one. Okay, this is the insanity one. And you can see, isn't that pretty? It's not supposed to be very big. It's supposed to be a wall hanging, but that's what I'm working on here. And then this is much larger. And I have a big one, a grandmother's flower garden that I've been working on for, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know if it's ever going to get done. But that one, again, very relaxing to just sit. I only use squares. I don't have to cut out hexagons. If you can look at the back of these are squares that I put over this. So all I do is cut out tons of squares. I don't cut out hexagons, and I put a little dab of glue on this side and then fold all these edges over, and I basted them, but like I say, people use glue now and glue them down. I had trouble getting the paper out when I glued it down, so that's why I didn't do it. But I'm wondering if this other paper will work, so I'll let you know about that. Anything else? Don't forget about this night owl quilting. This is a Christmas one, but a Christmas pot holder, but you can make it anything. I mean, I made all sorts of things. It makes a great appreciation gift or volunteer gift or something that, you want to give somebody something small, but something useful. And I just love this. So this will be a fun thing for us to be able to do when we get to that. Are there any other questions? Okay, so the links, look over in the chat section, the links for both of the tutorials that clean up this mess that I just made today. We'll explain it to you very concisely and it will walk you through the process. It's not going to take you through this. It's just going to take you through a very simple block, this one, but you'll get the idea. It's all the same. Once you learn how to do it, that's all it takes. Every other pattern will follow through. Now, we have a couple of patterns, I think on our satchel patterns, I used foundation piecing on, "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him," and I used foundation piecing on the gnome quilt, A Joyful Gnome. So there's some really great foundation piece blocks on there. That's why it goes together as fast as it does. So if you're interested in those two, those are available in the store on the joyfulandmerryquilting.com website. We also have the dog quilt. It's actually all hearts, and there's a little doghouse. If you don't want the doghouse, you can put all hearts on it. And that one's also foundation pieced. And then it's kind of a huge square and a square and a square. So that's another fun one if you're interested in getting into that technique. It's very, we explain it. There's a workshop with the doggy quilt so that you can just sew right with me, and it's a great one to start with. You can use those hearts in so many ways, and you don't have to, you don't have to make all of the blocks hearts. You can alternate them or use whatever, but it really does walk you through the process. And it takes you through also one of those two-pieced, the little doghouse actually is foundation piece, but it's in two parts. So that explains that too. Uh, Anything else? I am looking forward to the night owl session as well, Judy. I'm really excited about this, and we had so much fun that night. I know it's late, everybody. I know it's kind of late, but a lot of us are up then, and why not make use of that time? I feel like the night owl is, the night owl. Isn't that cute? It's so important that, we get when you're going through those sleepless nights, maybe you're an insomniac or whatever, and you can just sit here and either watch or chat or get to know people in the group. Like I said, we had a lot of people. It was really, really fun, and I think we took about an hour and a half. It was a little longer because this took a little longer to make, and I wanted to show you from start to finish, so that was good. This one won't take quite as long, but, we'll just use up the time as we can, and you can do whatever you want while you're there, and you can chat as much as you want on the side. Someone asked me when you come to the night owl quilting if everybody else can see you, and it's not like Zoom. It's you can see me and you can chat. So other than that, you can't see anybody else that's participating. So even though this is recorded, there's nothing identifying you other than whatever you use as your YouTube name will be if you make a comment. If you don't make a comment, it won't show up. Nobody will see you here. So, and we don't tape like Zoom meetings. If we have a class or whatever, we're not going to tape those because people don't always like to comment when they know they're being taped and being watched again. So it's just going to be just a group together. We'll have those in-person times. We will also have the videos and the pattern available, and going to teach you how to do it. So anyway, anything else? Any other comments? When is the beginner class going to be? January. We are starting it up in January, so we're going to promote it these coming up months. I am with Project Linus, and we have our Mystery Quilt Challenge right now, and so I am like up to here with everything that I have to do, and I don't have time to do that. But once January hits and the holidays are over, we are ready to go. It will be so easy to have these sessions, and they're going to be pretty personal. I mean, we're going to really get into the nitty gritty of quilting where you can interact with me. We'll arrange times when we can gather, and I think it's going to be helpful. I think we need to encourage new people to start quilting. If you know anybody that wants something fun for Christmas and they're kind of sort of interested, maybe this would be a fun gift for them. So just a thought, but we'll keep you posted on all that information as we complete it, as we get it ready to go. We're getting close. We have a lot ready, but we don't want to introduce it to you until we're totally ready and we're able to give you all the details. I just want to kind of tease you with it a little bit. But quilting is an art that's going away if we don't encourage others to do it and if we don't keep doing it. And my whole purpose, as I've said before, is that quilting is more than just cutting fabric and sewing seams. It's for me a whole body experience. It's my therapy. It's my time to gather with friends and just sit and sew together. Sometimes we don't even say anything. We just sew. And it's a time that I feel creative. I'm not very creative in most things. I'm not a good cook, and I'm not creative in the paint and brush areas of art, but I can quilt, and I really love doing it, and I love sharing it with everybody else. I enjoy being able to see you learn something new and then take that something new and make something fun out of it. So, if you would have showed this to me years ago, I would have said, never. This will never happen. I'm not kidding. It took me 20 minutes. It went together in a snap. It was so easy. But it's because I learned how. And unless we learn how and learn all those techniques, they just don't come out. They don't come out right. We need to start at the beginning and not in the middle. And when we start in the middle, we don't learn all those basic techniques and the tools we need and how to use the tools properly and what works and how we can use things that we have at home that we don't even need to go buy and what fabrics do we put together to make it look good and not kind of a mess. What is it, there are ways to learn that sort of thing, and that's what my goal is, to teach you that and to encourage you to then invite others to do the same, and we'll keep this hobby going. It's gonna this art form, we will keep it going, and I hope that all of you will join with me. Anything else? Oh, I'm so glad. Carrie says she is pulling her fabric for Monday. Yes, 10 I say 10-inch squares. I'll send you the template and the pattern when it's available. So watch your email. If you haven't signed up, joyfulandmerryquilting.com, enter your email because we will send you the link to the PDF that you'll be able to download for free. It's only available until our live session is over. Then it's not available for free anymore. So even if you don't do it or join us, you're going to want to get the pattern and hang on to it. Otherwise, again, it will still be available, but it'll just be in our store. So we'll have all of them together in a favor bundle, we're calling it. A bundle of favors, I don't know, something like that. And we're gonna have all these several little things that I will show you then next week what we're gonna do for the next time that we get together. We've got several things planned. So anyway, oh, the fabric for the mystery quilt. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the mystery quilt is another hat I wear aside from this, and so, yes, I'm so excited that, we've got people that are so into the mystery quilt and supporting Project Linus. We thank you so much for that. Project Linus couldn't survive without the donations that we get from those of you that purchase the pattern for the mystery quilt, and again, that's another area where hopefully you'll learn something. It's totally new this year. It's not like what I've done in the past, so I'm excited to share it with you, and I hope you like it. So for this pattern, again, if you're pulling the fabrics for this, 7 10-inch squares, okay? That'll do it. And you want them to match and look cute together, and then we'll put it together. You can come with your sewing machine and your supply list, and it works. We do it as we sew as we listen. So you can even listen on your phone if you want, if you don't have a computer nearby near your sewing machine. But anyway, anything else? Okay, well, I'm so excited. Thank you for your patience. We lost a lot of people because of my way of getting this going. I don't know what happened, and I'll work on that for sure. We're still pretty new at this, but hopefully the people that weren't able to watch will come back and view it later. Just watch it online. So anyway, thank you all for coming. I am always trying to be joyful. So hard today. I was really having a hard time being joyful because of technology, but I will always be merry. So thank you again for joining me, and please share, please like the video and click subscribe if you haven't, and please share. Please encourage other people to join with us as well. Monday night, September 11th, 10 o'clock Central Time. I will see you then, and we'll be doing some fun stuff. So thanks for joining me, everybody.